You're good to go. Good morning, everyone. My name is Karen Hyde. I'm your presiding member today, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the Community Development Assessment Panel for Thursday, the 7th of August 2025. I declare the meeting open at 9:31 a.m. And in doing so, I acknowledge that we are hosting this meeting on the traditional land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation and are joined by people from other lands around the state. We acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of Western Australia, pay respects to elders past and present, and the ongoing connection between people, land, waters and community. The meeting will be run in accordance with DAP Standing Orders 2024 under the Planning and Development Assessment Panel's Regulations 2021. The meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the DAP website in accordance with Regulation 42A of those regulations. Members are reminded to announce their name and title prior to speaking. Panel members may refer to technical devices throughout the meeting to assist them in considering the information before them. I'll now introduce the panel members for today's meeting. As I've said, my name is Karen Hyde. I'm the presiding member. To my left, Dale Page, deputy presiding member. Further to my left, Eugene Coltas, specialist member. And on screen, on Zoom, we have Councillor Douglas McClarty and Councillor Ange Rogers, our local government DAP members from the Shire of Murray. We have at item 2, no apologies. At item 3, no members on leave of absence. Item 4, noting of minutes from previous meetings are available on the DAP website. We're joined today by technical officers from the Shire, Eric Anderson, Greg Delahonte and Rod Peake. We will be hearing later in the meeting from applicants and submitters Trent Durwood, Susan Bilbao and Heidi Ergert. First, however, I'd like to ask panel members in terms of declaration of due consideration, if they have given due consideration to all of the documents contained within Part B of the agenda, Part B related information, noting the 2 R13 responses received on the 4th and the 5th of August, and the addendum to the RAR from the Shire officers received on the 6th. So could I have a show of hands, please? Thank you very much. Due consideration has been given by all. I'd then like to ask if there are any disclosures of interest. I've not received any at this point. Did anyone have any disclosures they'd like to raise? Could I please ask the elected members from the Shire, was this matter considered at council?
No.
Very good, thank you. So we have no declarations for that particular item. So we will move ahead to the application and presentations associated with it, and we are dealing with lot 89, number 11 Moores Road, Pinjarra, for a proposed veterinary centre. In accordance with the DAP standing orders, we have 3 presentations which have been limited to strictly 3 minutes each, and so we encourage you to draw our attention to the key matters that you wish us to consider today. Rest assured that we have read all of the written submissions and any further correspondence associated with those. I will let you know when you get close to time. Trent, you're first on our agenda. Are you comfortable to go first?
Yes.
Or would you like to reorganise things?
No, not at all. I'm just really having these guys available for questions.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've read the submissions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing a quick summary.
All right, and you don't have a PowerPoint, Trent, so you're just talking to us.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, when you're ready.
Thank you very much. Good morning, DAP members and councillors and staff. My name's Trent Durwood and I'm from Method Planning and I represent the applicant Pinjarra Vets. The veterinary centre has been designed to accommodate 18 staff and 21 car bays across 8,000 square metres. The development will provide additional economic and employment opportunities as well as a much needed service for the locality and is shown to be an appropriate land use in the rural zone through the reporting undertaken and the operation of their current clinic 2 lots to the north on Pinjarra Road. The nature of the use, as described by our planning report and Pinjarra Vet's deputation submission, details that it is not outer-centred development. Furthermore, the use could not feasibly be located on the upper level of the activity centre plan as required by it. We also note that pre-lodgement engagement was undertaken with adjoining residents and the Shire and all technical reporting, including traffic, acoustics, bushfire, effluent disposal and a spring flora survey, demonstrates the site can appropriately accommodate the proposed land use. Additionally, I note the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage and Main Roads WA have supported the development with no objections based on traffic, land use, the draft DSP or Peel region zoning. Furthermore, the DPLH have noted the inappropriateness of the location of the primary school in the draft DSP in not meeting Operational Policy 2.4. Regarding the Department of Education's latest comments in the additional information, we believe this further demonstrates the limited weight the draft district structure plan primary school location should be given in your decision today. Despite the Shire having approved the draft district structure plan, they have already looked at other options for a primary school site, and while the Department of Education has reaffirmed their advice, which changed from their initial advice that they did not support the primary school location, it would appear they have been through a short review process, perhaps even ad hoc. The school site is uncertain, not imminent, better described as unlikely. The project is shovel ready and as a much needed business, service and facility for the local community, we therefore ask that you endorse the alternative recommendation for approval, including removal of conditions as requested. Thank you for your time. We have Heidi Herget from Move Consultants and Susan Bilbao from Jaravets online for any questions.
Thank you very much, Trent. I'll ask panel members if they have any questions of those presenters and applicants attending today. Note, we did have a written submission, as you referenced, from the Department of Education. We did invite them to attend, but they were unavailable to attend today. So I'll go to our members online first. Councillor McClarty, did you have any questions of Trent or Susan or Heidi?
No, not at this stage, no.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rogers, did you have any questions of those three?
No, not at this stage.
All right, thank you. I'll refer to members in the room. Member Coltas.
I do. There was mention about the road widening, 4 metres that will be required from you. How confident are you that you can accommodate drainage within the reduced site area if you've got to give up the 4 metres?
Yes, look, very confident. There'll be some rejigging going on, but yeah, I don't foresee it to be an issue at all to be dealt with through a condition of approval. There's obviously a significant areas of land that aren't being developed on the site, and cleared land, especially in that south west corner of the site. So yeah, I don't foresee that to be an issue at all.
Okay. Have you had any discussion with Main Roads regarding the intersection of Moores Road and Shire Road?
No, not at this stage.
Do you know whether they have any plans drawn for that intersection?
I fear that process. I understand from some detail in the report that they may have a plan. How certain that is or how detailed that is, I don't know.
You didn't approach them to find out at all?
No, I haven't. And I'm certainly concerned about the potential delays. It's no question of that we'd be happy to work with them to get it done, to understand, but I think that then there would need to be a time frame that they have to, or perhaps a time frame for us to deal with that condition.
Okay, and you're not happy with the road widening free of cost?
Absolutely not. I can't see any justification for that. And
Moores Road and Shire Road, is there any road widening there?
No, not on Shire Road. Certainly, and I think it even indicates in the Main Roads referral advice that they refer to it being acquired as well. So I think it's just a...
Okay, I'll ask the council, but will it be an acquisition by Main Roads for that, for Moores Road, or council under the structure plan?
As I understand it, it would be Main Roads, but you'd best to
check with council.
Yeah.
Has council mentioned anything about a developer contribution plan that they've got at all?
No.
Okay. All right. I have a question of Heidi Herget, please. Heidi?
Heidi's there. Go ahead.
Here, I'm here.
Heidi, there was some mention made that by Main Roads that there were some inconsistencies in your report. They listed those, a number of something to do with speed limits and other issues. Did you have a look at those comments?
Yeah, I did, and I addressed all of them in an updated report.
Okay.
So the report that was appended to the RAR, I think was dated February. The updated report was issued on the 24th of July and sent to the Shire, but I guess maybe it just didn't meet their deadlines for the final submission of the RAR. So yes, that's all been addressed.
Okay, and you don't see any issues with the
None.
inconsistencies? Okay.
None whatsoever.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions at this stage.
Thank you, Member Coltas. Member Page, did you have questions?
Yes, thank you, Madam Presiding Member. I'm curious, Mr. Durwood, why have you chosen this site for the development? Do your clients own the land?
Yes, they do.
All right. So I'm assuming that you've not done an assessment whether there'd be other sites that would be appropriate for a development like this because your clients own this land?
Correct, and it was about an assessment of this land for that appropriate use, and there was a number of meetings and consultation that went through. There were clearly some issues that we had to deal with. Certainly the issue of the primary school did not come up until late last year, and we have dealt with that. I guess for the client, certainly in terms of business viability, it is 2 lots down from their current business, and so in terms of their catchment and their servicing the local community, it could be a better site for them in a business sense, and it certainly, hopefully, demonstrated that it's an appropriate land use for that site. I think that the discussions in the report about out-of-centre development, something that only came up, I was not aware of this as being an issue until the agenda was released, and certainly as I dug deeper into the draft Pinjarra Activity Centre plan and the need to have, as they compared it to an office or a consulting room land use, which I holistically disagree with. But if we did do that, when you refer to that structure plan and it requires offices and consulting rooms to be on upper levels, then I think it just further demonstrates that this is not an appropriate use for that activity centre.
That's all good. We've read that in the submission. I was just curious about, so I'm therefore seeking your confirmation. It increases the viability of this use on the site, given they don't have to purchase land somewhere else for.
Absolutely.
Right, okay. So just picking up on something you had in your submission and you've referred to it now, you say your clients only became aware that a primary school was proposed on their site when the structure plan was issued for public comment in December. Did your clients lodge a submission on the draft structure plan?
No.
Okay, all right. Just a couple of technical issues. Does your noise modelling consider any potential future higher residential uses near the site?
No.
The drainage basin, why is it actually needed on your site in its current form?
I
Can't answer, that's not a problem. But I'm just curious as to why it's there in the first place.
it was we'd had some initial technical reporting done to satisfy the design requirements, and that was seen as an appropriate spot by the designer at the time. I don't know the technical detail around why it is particularly there.
But assuming if this was, and I'm not saying it will be, if it was to be approved, there's a condition requiring a re-look at that drainage basin. So those technical aspects would be taken into consideration.
Absolutely, yeah.
Approximately, and this might be a question that Heidi Herget could help with as well, approximately how far is the corner of the building set back from the intersection of the property boundary? So from that corner of Moors and Pinjarra, you've got the dog exercise area, or the animal exercise area, and you've got the dog park. But the building itself, how close is it from the property boundary, the corner? And it doesn't have to be exact, you know, is it 10, 20, 30 metres?
And to measure to the truncation, is that?
Yeah, from the building itself.
There are some dimensions on the development.
Some dimensions from the building to the side boundaries, and those are around 24 metres. Probably further from the corner of the building to the truncation. I'm just trying to.
33.3, so
33.
well, approximately 30.
Over 30 metres, yep, okay. If there is some intersection treatment that needs to occur there, Heidi, I'm not sure whether it'd be a roundabout or something else. Your knowledge of what roundabouts typically look like and how much land they occupy, could you confirm whether the building at 33 metres from that corner would be set back far enough so as not to be impacted by the roundabout? Can't hear you.
You're on mute, Heidi.
I would suggest yes. I mean, this would be a main roads roundabout, so a typical inscribed radii are 14 meters. That would be a full one that can accommodate a dual circulating roundabout on the major approach, which is Pinjarra Road. I would suggest yes, but we haven't done an overlay because our understanding is while there has been mention and reference sort of in a strategic context that intersection might be upgraded to full control either via a roundabout, which main roads probably would prefer, or a signal. The signal footprint would be substantially smaller, as you're aware. There's nothing entertained. I've not seen any drawings as part of a structure plan or anything. So the reality is I would think so, but we haven't delved into it in detail from an engineering perspective. But
Okay,
if it's set back 33 meters, I would suggest that just looking at what the approximate boundary line is, I would say that it would likely be okay.
Thank you. That's it from me.
All right, thank you. I have some questions, just we'll deal with that road issue. Main Roads in their referral suggested that the applicant is advised that the area identified as community space on the southeastern side of the intersection of Mills Road and Pinjarra Road may be impacted by the modification of the intersection or land acquisition should this be required in the future. So you would be aware of that referral advice. Is there any issue, any impact of that advice upon the plans? Are you comfortable that potentially there might be some impact on the community space?
Yes, we are, and that's part of the reason that, look, we did show that road winding to begin with, and then that there was a area there that was not quite set back from the building. And I don't foresee that to be an issue to accommodate, notwithstanding the technical details that we've discussed. But noting they've also supported, they're not opposing the development either. So.
Okay, thank you. Do you know what the net lettable area is of the development?
It's about 600 square metres, if I recall.
I think the overall footprint is about 580 or 590. But in terms of the NLA,
I'm sorry, I don't have that figure.
okay.
But I'd expect some without the toilets, or maybe like 5 to 10% off that.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you for that. And what was the reason that there wasn't dialogue with the landowner during the preparation of the DSP? The RAR suggests that there has been dialogue with the landowners impacted by the DSP.
Look, I would refer that to Susan.
Okay, yep,
yeah,
thank you.
fine.
Susan, the correspondence, etc., from the Shire suggests that during the preparation of the DSP, there was dialogue with various landowners who might be impacted by the DSP. What's your comment on that, please?
I guess I can't put too much comment in that. Like, I don't know what the dialogue actually was, and who actually was spoken to, and sort of what the responses were. I guess
From your point of view, though, as a landowner in the area, what communication did you have with the Shire, or did the Shire have with you in terms of the proposals on the plan?
I honestly can't say that I remember any direct correspondence except for what we've, done with the project and stuff ourselves, and the correspondence to and fro with the council. I just assumed because it was involving a property we owned itself, maybe we didn't sort of get that sort of information. I mean, I know there was early on correspondence with, why it needed to be there, why, what we would have to meet, that sort of thing, that there would be future high density housing behind the property and that sort of thing. But it was always just informal, emails and things like that, or talking with planning. That's kind of really the only correspondence that
Okay,
I've got. Yeah.
thank you. So that's associated with this proposal. Trent, did you
Yes.
wish to add to that response?
Yeah, look, I think it's worth adding that there's some detail in the report from both meetings that I had since late 2023 with council, and some email correspondence with council that details some of the issues we'd need to address and the like. And I guess you could see by that it is directly related to the site, and there is no mention of the site on a district structure plan. And it wasn't until we saw it advertised on December that we were made aware of that.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. I don't have any further questions. Do any other panel members have any further questions at this point? Excuse me. If not, we'll refer to the Shire officers. We can obviously come back to the applicants should we need to. So do we have questions of Eric, Greg or Rod? I'll go back to our officers our members online. Councillor McClarty, did you have questions for the Shire officers?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Councillor Rogers, do you have questions of the Shire officers?
No.
Okay, thank you. Member Coltas?
Yes. There was mention about the draft structure plan being referred to the WA Planning Commission. What's the timing for that?
Thank you. Greg Donovan speaking. We have, our council endorsed the structure plan after public advertising at its July council meeting, and it is now being referred to the WAPC for determination.
Have you dealt with structure plans being referred to the Commission before?
Yes, I have.
For endorsement? How long typically do you expect it to take?
Well, I believe that they've got, is it 90 days? I think it is, to make a determination, and then there can be an extension of time. So depending on working through some of the issues, look, we have offered to work collaboratively to progress the matter, but yeah, look, it may take a number of months.
Is it it would be expected that the Commission may have some issue about the location of this proposed primary school, given that the department's comments were that it doesn't fit livable neighbourhoods and policies on location and design of primary schools, given that there's no 3 street frontages. The street frontages that are there are higher order roads. Do you think that the Commission would ask you to review or provide alternative locations?
Look, I think it's a fair point to raise, and it is something that we have worked extremely hard on through the preparation of the DSP in consultation with the Department of Education. And look, I have to highlight the fact that the Commission instructed the Shire to prepare the DSP. The Commission instructed the Shire to identify school locations in its decision back in 2018. And the reason for that is we're dealing with a fragmented area of land. It's a brownfield setting. So it's not as simple as going into a greenfield setting and picking the ideal location for primary schools. We're operating within a pretty limited context here. We've got a number of existing approved structure plans in the vicinities that don't show primary schools. And so through workshopping this with the Department of Education, we have arrived on what is possibly the only suitable location for primary school in this area. And that is based on looking at the spatial distribution of schools, making sure that they're centrally located, that they can reasonably serve a residential catchment, and they're not actually impacting on lands that have existing approved structure plans. It may not be the ideal location in terms of operational policy 2.4, but it's about as close as we can get in terms of a fragmented brownfield setting. So while the Commission may, and DPLH, I would not really say that DPLH objected to the school location in their submission. They highlighted some of the potential issues under OP 2.4, and we've worked through that with the Department of Education, and we believe that this is, and the department believe that this is the location for a primary school in this area. We're required to provide a number of primary schools to meet the population growth that's predicted for Pinjarra, and we've been instructed by the WABC to identify them in the DSP.
Okay, and in terms of the structure plan being certain and imminent, once it gets referred to the Commission, there'll be other issues, I'm sure, that the Commission would want to review and look at. Are there any that you...
Look, potentially, but I think we've got to just take a little step back here and understand that this land is identified as urban deferred in the region scheme. It's identified as urban deferred in the South Metro Appeal Planning Framework. So it ultimately has an urban use. The position of the Commission is you do not approve subdivision or development that may implicate delivery of urban land by either making it more complex or more costly. And you're required to undertake strategic planning when you've got urban deferred land to ultimately transition that to urban zoning. The Shire has undertaken that district structure planning at the direction of the Commission. It is completely consistent with the state planning policy. It's based on sound planning principles, going through an orderly and proper planning process. And ultimately, this land is a residential precinct, which a vet will be a prohibited use within a residential precinct. So while there may be discretion under the existing rural zoning, that rural zoning is a placeholder until the land transitions to its ultimate urban zoning. So it is discretionary use, it's not a permitted use. So the Shire's position is that when exercising the discretion, the JDAP should consider the ultimate strategic intent for the land, the district structure planning that's been undertaken, the need to provide residential land and school sites, and I suppose the obligation not to make that delivery more complex and cost prohibitive. So on those bases, we believe that it is an inappropriate use of land to deliver a vets here.
Okay, thank you. I've got no further questions.
Member Page, any questions of the Shire officers?
Yes, I have a few, thank you. So how many lots does this primary school designation cover? And are they all privately owned by different owners?
Yes, they are privately owned by different owners. I believe it's 2 or 3.
Thank you. Do you have an understanding of what the process would be for acquisition of private land for a primary school in future?
Yes, it would be acquired by the Department of Education. They would receive development contributions through as conditions of subdivision, not just from within this precinct, but any precinct, I suppose, that would be proximate to this proposed primary school. So this landowner would ultimately, the landowners would get their land purchased by the Department of Education.
Thank you. How many sites are earmarked for primary schools in the area under your planning framework, your various structure plans, and how many have been developed for that use to date?
We only have 2 existing primary schools within the DSP area. There's one in the Pinjarra town centre and one in Karkula, which is north of Pinjarra. and both of them are pretty much at capacity at the moment. We have identified a further 4 primary schools to accommodate the population growth. And as I alluded to earlier, it's really difficult trying to find sites that can accommodate those new primary schools. And this is seen as a suitable site.
Thank you. Look, given the complexity of the process of acquisition and having to deal with various differently privately owned properties, where do you think this specific primary school site would sit in the priorities of primary school rollout? And what do you think the likely timing of that would be?
Look, it is a little bit difficult to forecast that at this point in time, because this staging and delivery of development within the district structure plan is going to be developer-led and market-driven. And ultimately, we're at capacity with primary schools. So once new land starts coming on, and in the western section of the Shire, there are in the western section of Pinjarra, there are 2 existing approved structure plans that do not have primary schools, but they can start implementing subdivision tomorrow if they get approval. So that starts to generate the need for an additional primary school. And that is, I suppose, proximate to the location of this primary school. So understand that this land still has to go through various hurdles in terms of rezoning, acquisition, and the likes. But in terms of that western portion of Pinjarra, that's where some of the growth is forecasted to occur in the first instance.
Okay, thank you. What would be the implications of shifting the primary school site to the southeast by 1 lot in your draft structure plan, either now, as part of any changes you may need to make in response to DPLH comments, or when the structure plan needs to be reviewed within the next 10 years?
So if I can just confirm, so you're saying moving it away from Moores Road 1 lot?
Shifting it down 1 lot.
Yeah, sure. And so that would just essentially free up this proposed site, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. At the moment, we have got an integrated public open space network that travels from the Murray River across Pinjarra Road down through a central area on this site, which is essentially on the southeastern boundary of the proposed primary school. And that link is part of a comprehensive network that goes to the extreme south of the Pinjarra town side. So locating that school there would actually interrupt that POS network and that POS linkage. It would also move it away from Moores Road, which is, I suppose, in terms of getting that access to decent transport links, having Moores Road as a border to this school site is probably more preferable than rather introducing another road of that kind of the hierarchy, just 1 lot away from Moores Road. So you'd be kind of doubling up with the transport network by moving 1 site down.
Okay. Can I just explore something you raised now about that open space network moving through the site to the southeast? Primary schools have a lot of open space around them, and a lot of schools have shared use agreements with the Department of Education you would have a shared use agreement with the Department of Education. So is that not a possibility to manage that link, or is the link more substantial than that?
It potentially could be investigated. I'm familiar with a lot of primary schools who like to have fences around their schools, but there is potential opportunities for shared spaces. We haven't really got to that level of detail yet. And I suppose that the duplication of the road network to provide that boundary road to the school site is probably a bigger implication of relocating it 1 lot to the southeast.
Okay, thank you. On page 7 of the RA, to justify why the proposed primary school can't be located elsewhere, one of the reasons you've used is that both alternative locations have valid structure plan approvals which don't contain a primary school. So what would be the implications of amending one of those structure plans to include a primary school? You've touched briefly on this on page 8 of the RA, but I'd appreciate if you could expand on that a little bit for me, please.
Sure. So to help guide this discussion, could you please turn to page 12 of the agenda?
Yep.
So on page 12, we've got all the various precincts within the DSP area, and those are areas that are identified for local structure plans or already have local structure plans. So precinct 3 is the site that we're currently discussing, and precinct 4 and precinct 5 on that plan both have approved structure plans already, and residential structure plans without identified school sites. So in the morning, they can lodge, and there is actually subdivision approval over one of those at the moment, but they can legally implement their subdivision approvals in accordance with their approved structure plans. They have valid approved structure plans that don't expire for half a decade, and it would be, I suppose, unreasonable to come in now in the Shire for the Shire to try and amend those structure plans when they have a valid lifespan on those structure plans and they can legally implement them at this stage. And so given that constraint exists in that western portion of Pinjarra, and we are pretty limited on where we can actually locate the proposed primary schools.
Okay. Thank you. Also on page 8, you state that if proposed school site is removed, there'll be an undersupply of primary schools. So at what point will there be an actual undersupply, and what population and demographic projection have you based the information on?
So there's about capacity for about 20,000 people in the district structure plan area. And look, we're just reflecting the South Metro planning framework with our plan. The schools are at capacity at the moment. So it's really not, it will be, we've got a requirement to provide a number of primary schools to accommodate the projected population growth. So once a primary school is missing from the piece, there will be an undersupply. It's extremely difficult to kind of forecast how these things are going to roll out in what sequence, but ultimately there's a puzzle and all the pieces matter in the puzzle. So you remove one of those key components, you're going to have a deficiency.
But you won't have a deficiency today. So is it more accurate to say there will be a potential undersupply in the future?
Correct. Sorry. Yes. Yes. That is a correct decision.
Okay. Thank you. Just what is, in your view, what is the likely timing of the widening of Moores Road as identified in the district structure plan?
It will be dependent on the urban development happening around the area. So Moores Road is extremely important in that it links into the Pinjarra industrial area. So it is heavily trafficked with industrial vehicles at the moment. And ultimately, once the Pinjarra Road is identified as an activity corridor under the state's metro plan. So we've responded to that with our density and urban structure planning. So once the development comes on, then ultimately the road widening will be required. Okay,
so just, and you have to do this given your role, but your very broad estimate, is it 5, 10, 20 years?
Look, it is probably within the next 10 years, I'd say.
Okay, great, thank you. Just going back to a question that Member Coltaz had about the WAPC, I understand they still need to go through their process, but often when there are structure plans being prepared, the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage might provide some informal commentary as you work through that process. Has DPLH assessed or provided any informal or preliminary commentary on the draft plan at this point?
Yes, we engaged with them over 12 months on this, and they were integrally involved in, I suppose, the establishment of preparation of the DSP. And the WAPC directed that, I suppose, a working group was established at that time, and that comprised Main Roads and Department of Planning. And that was probably important in identifying the boundaries of the PSP and the boundary of the DSP, and providing with some initial direction on the process. And the Shire has taken more control of that over the last couple of years, but we have provided them with the draft plan, everything like over 12 months ago. So it's been an open, transparent process throughout.
Great, thank you. So it appears to me the intention is for higher density uses to be accommodated within the activity centre, and I think it shows on your plans that on some lots we're looking at R80, R100, is that correct?
Yes, within the precinct structure plan, it's got a variation of densities from about R40 to R100.
Okay, great. So a key concern in your RA appears to be potential impact on the intended higher density residential uses abutting the land. If there's an intention for higher density uses to be accommodated within that activity centre, wouldn't locating a veterinary practice of the type and scale of the one proposed in the activity centre have even greater impact on residential amenity given the density you're seeking?
It is a reasonable point to raise, but in the precinct structure plan, and I'm not sure if you've had the opportunity to have a look at that, but we have provided a precinct-based approach with a core precinct that looks at focusing generally on more commercial activities. There's opportunities for mixed use in there as well, which would generally be in apartment kind of over a commercial development. We also then have a mixed use frame, which is probably lower intensity commercial uses and with a more of a focus on higher residential densities to support the core precinct. And we have a residential hinterland that supports the centre. So with that, I suppose, sub-precinct approach that has been prepared, and with I suppose acknowledging the amenity of living within a town centre, there would be an expectation on that future amenity that it's not going to be strictly residential amenity. It would be mixed use amenity with exposure to commercial land uses. So, I don't take the point that the applicant made that it is a contradictory approach that the Shire has proposed. Commercial land uses, they go into mixed use and commercial areas with higher density residential development throughout centre planning. So it's not a contradictory approach.
Thank you. One last question, if you don't mind. Another concern you've raised in the report appears to be the potential impact on viability of the activity centre if uses like this one are located out of centre. On page 13 of the RA, you state the intent of SPP 4.2 is to promote highly accessible, compact and vibrant mixed-use centres that provide a high quality of life, and that's correct. So wouldn't a facility of the nature and scale proposed to sterilise the opportunity for land in the activity centre to be developed with walkable, compact and vibrant uses more typically located in such a centre?
Potentially, if it was delivered in the form that it's currently proposed, but if a land use, if a development is proposed within the town centre, there are built form requirements that would ensure that it can be complementary to, I suppose, that ultimate vision for the town centre. So you may not be able to provide a development of this scale on a single story. It may have to come on in a double story form. The car parking would have to be located behind the building. There's a lot of urban design considerations that would ensure that it could be complementary to that, the urban design intent of the town centre.
And there's also an opportunity for reciprocal parking in the activity centre, which would not be available.
Okay, great. And sorry, I said that was my last, but just one clarification point. This is the last. So on that point that you made about, well, it might be that would need to be accommodated. Applicant has provided quite a strong case, in my view, in the documents that we received in the last week or so about the need and desirability of a veterinary centre of the type and scale that is currently proposed within your broader community. So do you agree with their analysis of community need for the facility?
Certainly, look, we're not here to try and we're not trying to impact local business. We're not trying to take away a service from the community, and completely agree that this is a service that is desirable for the community and necessary for the community. And what we're trying to look at is the broader public interest and the strategic planning and the strategic intent of the town. So it's certainly not something that we're taking satisfaction or joy in doing with this recommendation. And it's really just looking at that broader public interest.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've got a couple of questions. Thank you. Karen Hyde speaking. In terms of the dialogue with the community, and I think I did read somewhere, not your exact words, but that there was discussion with affected landowners in relation to the preparation of the DSP. Obviously, the applicant can't recall direct conversations around the proposition for a school site on their land, and state that they were first aware of it when this was published for advertising, or made aware of it towards the end of last year. Did you talk to the various landowners who are impacted by the location of this primary school site and others?
Look, with I suppose reference to this specific landowner, I'll talk about initially, and then I can talk more broadly. We did advise this landowner 5 years ago that this site may not be suitable for a vet centre, and that was based on the strategic planning intent for the precinct, that it was going to be a residential precinct. At that stage, we hadn't resolved locations for primary schools, but it was certainly advised at that time that this was going to be a residential precinct, and that it was advised to try and secure a site within the town centre for a commercial land use. Through the development of the district structure plan, we workshopped the school locations, and we eventually arrived on the preferred locations. And we did have engagement with the applicant on behalf of the landowner prior to lodging their application. And at that stage, we hadn't referred our district structure plan to council, but we did advise the applicant at that stage that the intention was that it would be a primary school site. So that was before they had lodged their application formally.
So sorry, just let me interrupt you. So when you said you workshopped the locations of school site, did that involve members of the community, or was that purely yourselves and the Department of Education?
Purely ourselves and the department. Look, I suppose the thing is we're looking at 1,000 hectares for the Pinjarra district structure plan area, and each person who's a landowner within that 1,000 hectares, there's planning proposals that will impact them to some degree or another, whether if it's going to be a primary school site, whether it's going to be public open space, whether it's going to be density uplift or a commercial site.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Okay. Further question. Building on questions by Member Coltaz and Member Page, you've obviously referred the DSP to the Commission, and those steps will take their course. You've obviously highlighted the need for further structure planning at a more detailed level for local structure planning or specific precinct structure planning. And I think the wording around the particular notional precinct in the DSP is that further detail regarding the school site will need to be prepared through the process of local structure plan or precinct structure plans. So what's the time frame for that work? Have you actually commenced looking at school layouts? Have you engaged with the DOE and the DPLH on how those, for this particular site, how that layout might look?
We have engaged with the Department of Education on this school site because initially they had some concerns with it, given that it's not the ideal location. But there was some discussions around potentially looking at introducing cap roads adjacent to Pinjarra Road that may get the school, I suppose, directly off that Pinjarra Road frontage. So there has been some high-level discussions about school site planning, but definitely not to the degree of through the preparation of the local structure plan. It's really just been high level to confirm whether this was the preferred site for schools.
Okay, thank you. So just to take me through the key steps, so you engaging on the DSP with the Commission, and that has to go through a process, and it may well not happen within the statutory 90 days, in my experience also with these things. Following that, there needs to be a lifting of urban deferment, and whether you're allowed to change your planning scheme in association with that listing of urban deferment, or whether you've got to go through a separate step again for the town planning scheme. That's obviously something still to be determined. And then you've got local structure planning or precinct structure planning to take place for the various precincts that you've identified before that urban development, as you call it, can take place. Is that a fair summation, or are there other steps further or fewer steps?
Correct. Look, once the lifting of urban deferment under the region scheme will automatically need to be represented in our local planning scheme. Under the Planning and Development Act, we'll need to have a consistent zoning. So that will be, as identified in the district structure plan, that will be a development zone. So an urban development zone requiring a local structure plan. And and you're correct, then a local structure plan will be prepared prior to subdivision and development. So it does still have processes to go through before.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Just one last question. The applicant has raised, and we may not get to this point, but in the alternate that was provided through R13, condition 6 talks about the road 4 metre wide portion being ceded free of cost to the Crown and without payment of compensation prior to the development being occupied. Could you explain to me how you have reached a view on the need and nexus for that particular condition?
So probably the rationale behind that was ultimately the intent would be that that road widening would occur as a result of the residential or urban development of the precinct. And this land use, the introduction of this land use may prohibit that occurring by, I suppose, sterilising a significant portion of this land. Given that Moores Road widening is required to happen under the South Metro Plan, this was considered to be maybe a reasonable opportunity, given that we're introducing a commercial urban land use onto this site adjacent to Moores Road, a reasonable opportunity for the road widening to be set aside.
So I understand that you might require built form and associated circulation to be set back from a notional road widening of this kind. But I think you already said that Moores Road is essential for the industrial park. I think you also just mentioned that it's essential for further urban development. So my question is, this particular application, what is the need and nexus for it to contribute free of cost that land, as opposed to simply setting the development form back sufficient to allow for future acquisition at the point that that road widening is needed to take place?
Look, I think upon reflection, maybe that may be an appropriate outcome at this point in time, and making sure that any future road widening was not going to be impacted by the development footprint.
All right, thank you very much. Further question from Member Coltas.
Well, first of all, of the applicants, and I think was consideration given to develop this on the current site that they operate from.
I would refer to
Susan?
noting it's the same.
No, so when I first started the practice 13 years ago, there was already that need to, we were at capacity going from large animals to small animals. So I had spoken sort of high level with the council and said, look, we need to build something that's purpose-built or a little bit bigger than what we've got now. And I was told that they wouldn't approve anything on our current site because they've zoned it for bulk warehousing. So that was
Sorry, what? Sorry, what was that warehousing one?
bulk warehousing. So kind of like Bunnings, Good Guys, that sort of thing. They wanted that sort of
That's not
business here.
That's not what their structure plan says, but go on, yes.
No, but that's, when I spoke to them probably 10 years ago when we really started to go, could we have a need in the community to do something? So once the council said no, that wouldn't happen. And that was, I think the town planner that it was in the council then isn't there anymore. So then we started looking at alternate locations. So when the medical centre became vacant, we looked at that site, but high level discussions were like, no, they wouldn't approve it there. When buildings would come up for sale, we're like, cool, can we purchase and move into those locations? And we were met with the same thing. It's like, no, it didn't sort of fit the zoning. So we kind of went with this block became available. And because it was between the two practices that are currently there, it was rural. So they're like, well, out of all the things that we've talked to the council about, this was the more likely one that they would cover and say, yes, it would fit what we needed to do, which is why we've sort of always, tried to develop this site. So we have explored at high levels, different locations, but we've just always been, knocked back verbally to go, no, like that's just not something that we would give approval for, unfortunately.
And if I could,
Just a quick follow up. Do you own the current site?
We do, yes.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. That's it. And Mr.
Trent, did you wish to follow?
Edward?
yeah, I was just going to mention that this site having site access off Moores Road and not just relying on direct frontage to the to Pinjarra Road would be safer access for the proposed land use.
So just
and more coordinated.
Just to be clear, I'm very familiar with this area, but members may or may not be, but the current veterinary practice, as with the nearby electrical, direct access from Pinjarra Road, which is not something presumably that Main Roads wishes to support. So this application would reduce that direct frontage, is that correct?
Absolutely. There is only access off Moores Road for this. Yeah.
Okay. Then it brings me to another question of council.
Certainly.
There are two other commercial developments about this site that are earmarked for the primary school site, proposed primary school site. Had any discussions with those landowners regarding the primary school?
Look, I'm sorry, you kind of broke up there and I didn't hear the question. Do you mind repeating it?
My question is, there are two other landowners abutting this site, two commercial landowners, I presume it's lots 87 and 88. And have you had discussions or have they made submissions in regard to the primary school proposal on their land?
No, we did engage with every single landowner within the district structure plan area through the advertising process.
Yep.
They did not make any submissions on the draft district structure plan. So yeah, that's the extent of it.
So the intention would be while you're contemplating the structure plan and getting all the approvals and rezonings in the area, should those commercial developments wish to do some further development on their sites, they'd be considered non-conforming uses? You wouldn't approve any expansion or enhancement of their developments during this time?
There wouldn't be non-conforming uses because currently the zoning rural probably gives them.
Yeah, in essence, they would be non-conforming uses because they wouldn't be able to do any further development because
we would give due regard to the planning framework. We're making any decisions on proposals that would modify those land uses.
Okay. In your review of the location of structure plans, did you not look at the proposed primary school on the western side of Moores Road, where the current practice is?
It was a potential option, but it was not considered to be the preferred site, given that it is further separated from the town. It is opposite a golf course, not opposite an existing residential community. It doesn't link in with the proposed green space network. It has a little bit more constraints on site with some significant vegetation towards the rear of the site. So there was a number of factors that dictated that this was actually the preferred site.
So you just mentioned it's not linked into the green space network.
Yep.
I can't see on the structure plan that this is actually linked to any green space network.
There is on page, one second.
Page 9, there's the structure plan. I can't see where there's...
The LSP 3 plan, which is on figure number 5 on page 10. You can see there is an arrow that goes along the border of the school site.
Page 7, is it?
Page 10 of your agenda.
And okay, I can see it. Yes, okay. All right, I can see.
Unfortunately, we couldn't represent all information on the DSP plan because it gets quite busy. So we had to make some calls on what went onto the actual plan. We have a separate green space plan that forms part of part 1 that clearly articulates that green space network. And that's also been picked up on that smaller precinct plan.
Okay, thanks very much for that. I've no further questions.
All right.
Presiding member.
Thank you. Any other questions of either the applicant or the Shire officers? If not, we will move ahead with the item at this point. And in the order that it has been presented in the response to the authority report, first we'll take the response to the authority recommendation, which is to refuse this for, I think, five reasons. So I'm seeking a mover for that as the primary motion. There is no mover, therefore that lapses, and we then seek an alternate motion. We have been provided with an alternate motion through the R13 response, and that alternate motion is to approve the development with a number of conditions. Noting that through also the R13 response, the Shire themselves flagged a possible amendment to condition 13, which was the red wording which outlined matters associated with lighting. So there may be other amendments that we wish to make should this be moved, but in the first instance I'm seeking a mover for that alternate motion, inclusive of those changes to condition 13. Is there a mover, please, to approve? Member Page moves. Is there a seconder? Sorry.
Absolutely.
Oh, did you both put your hands up?
Yes,
your member was first.
That's all right. Councillor Rose, are you happy to second?
Yes.
Thank you. My apologies. You're ever so tiny on our screen, so I was not quite seeing your hand go up. Thank you. Member Page, as the mover, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yes, thank you, presiding member. So I do support the alternate motion for approval. It appears to me the current facility is well used and that an improved facility will meet the growing need for this important service in the community. It also appears that the type of facility needed requires a bit of space for parking, for exercise areas, for servicing, and it's not the type or scale of use that I see easily fitting in with the draft precinct structure plan shown on page 14 of the responsible authority report. The staff have confirmed this to a degree, but if it was to form part of the precinct, compromise on design standards would be needed, compromise on the type and scale of services offered would be needed, and I'm of the view that this use would not fit comfortably within a multi-storey building envelope with active urban edges. It's a car-reliant use that should be close enough to the centre to be convenient for those residents, but far enough away to have the space it needs and to minimise any amenity impacts. So I think the site is suitable for the use proposed, and vice versa. It's a use that can be considered for the site under the current planning framework. There's access and visibility to the site. There's enough parking proposed. The vegetation to be removed is not significant. Any noise impacts can be managed. It's a well-designed facility with high-quality landscaping and entry statement at the corner and broader public amenity in the form of a fenced dog park. I note the proposal was advertised and received one submission of support from the community, albeit the support was for the proposed dog park component. So I will support the recommendation for approval, but I do propose some amendments to the draft conditions provided by the Shire in response to the 13 request for an alternate. I'd seek to delete condition 5, which requires Main Road's confirmation of the land area that may be required for a potential upgrade at the intersection of Moores and Pinjarra roads.
I'm happy to second that, member Page, but I wonder if consideration could be given to an advice note that might replace it. That advice note reading, the applicant is advised that the area identified as community space on the south elevation, southeastern side of the intersection of Moores Road and Pinjarra Road may be impacted by the modification of the intersection or land acquisition should this be required in the future.
I'm happy with that as mover to factor that into the amendment.
Thank you. So we have a mover, member Page, seconded by member Hyde. That is to delete condition 5 and add a new advice note which follows that given by Main Road referral. Member Page, would you like to speak to that amending motion 1, please?
Yes, very briefly, please. So this upgrade might not be required for many years, if at all. It's not a certainty. The building is to be set well back from the property boundaries at this intersection and is unlikely to be impacted even if the upgrade is required. Areas which could potentially be impacted by any upgrade, namely the patient exercise areas and off-lead dog park, are arguably sacrificial. They can either be removed or redesigned to accommodate any road widening needed at that.
Thank you. I concur with what you've said, and I think that adding that advice note simply highlights the potential without making it an absolute by way of a condition, given the uncertainty. Other speakers on Amendment 1? Excuse me. All right, did you wish to say anything further?
Nothing further.
Let's put Amendment 1 to vote. Those in favour? That's a unanimous decision, thank you. Member Page, still with you.
Thank you. I'd then like to seek to amend condition 6, which requires land to be ceded to the Crown prior to occupancy, with the amended condition to read as follows. No buildings or other permanent or immovable structures shall be developed within a 4-metre wide portion of land potentially required for the future widening of Moores Road without the further approval of the Shire of Murray or the Metro Outer Development Assessment.
Thank you. That's Amendment 2, moved by Member Page. Is there a seconder for that amendment, please? Member Councillor Clarty is happy to second that. Thank you. Member Page, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, thank you. Land for the potential future road widening has been set aside in the development plans in case it is required. The development needs to be built in accordance with the approved plans, and condition 4 requires the drainage basin to be redesigned to avoid the potential road widening area. It's therefore not reasonable to require land to be ceded at this point without compensation for a potential road widening, which may or may not occur, and if it does, it may not be for quite some time.
Thank you. Councillor McClarty is seconder. Would you like to speak to this amendment?
No, I don't need to speak, thank you.
All right, other speakers on this amendment? If not, I'll put this to the vote. Those in favour of Amendment 2 to edit Condition 6, that's unanimous. Thank you. Still with you, Member Page.
Thank you. The last amendment I propose is an amendment to Condition 12 relating to the relocation of the signs from potential road widening areas. the amended condition to read as follows. The signs to be located within areas of land required for the widening of Moores Road and the future upgrade of the intersection of Moores and Pinjarra Road shall be removed and relocated to the satisfaction of the Shire of Murray once a contractor has been appointed to carry out the required works.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that amendment, please?
I'll second that.
Member Coltaz seconds. Would you like to speak to that?
Thank you. So signage can be easily relocated, and in the event and at the time the works actually occur, the signs can be relocated at that point.
Member Coltaz, did you wish to speak to this?
Yes, just that I concur with that, and the uncertainty with the intersection of Moores and Pinjarra Road, I think, brings in the fact that main roads probably don't have any certainty with their planning, so the amended condition is warranted.
Thank you. Any other speakers on Amendment 3? If not, we'll put that to the vote. Those in favour of that amendment? That's unanimous. Thank you. Still with you, Member Page.
Thank you. Just in conclusion, I acknowledge the concerns about the site being designated as a future primary school under the draft district structure plan, and that the use of the primary school would be obstructed if we approve this development. But in my mind, this is a very big if that stands in the way of a very valid planning application. We're not sure the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage would support the designation of primary school for this and the adjoining lots. We're not sure if the EWAPC will approve the structure plan in the form proposed. Even if they do, there are many complex cost hurdles to get over before this site and the adjoining lots can be developed for one of a few primary schools earmarked for the district. So in my view, to hold back a much needed community service and facility on privately owned land, because it has been earmarked for a school that may or may not be needed many years into the future in a draft structure plan document that is neither certain nor imminent, in my view, would be difficult to defend. So I'm pleased to vote for approval of the application.
Thank you, Member Page. Councillor Rogers, as seconder to the substantive motion, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, I would. My decision is not intended to undermine the local planning framework or the work of our planning officers who do a wonderful job. However, after considering the application, I believe the alternate recommendation with the planning conditions more appropriately responds to the realities of this proposal. In this particular case, I believe the alternate recommendation strikes a better balance between the planning framework, the application before us, and the practical needs of our community.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. Councillor McClarty, would you like to speak to the substantive motion?
No, I just concur with what's been said. I think it's a good compromise going forward.
Thank you very much. Member Coltaz, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, well, I have a fair bit of sympathy for the officers who toiled long and hard in preparation of a structure plan. I know that from experience these things can take a long time, especially in an area that's already developed. It's, as was mentioned, it's not a brownfield site, or greenfield site, sorry, and to try and fit proposals into an area that's already developed is a bit of a problem. However, I took the view that I would look at the planning framework in the sense that whether this particular school site was certain and imminent. The Department of Planning has raised concerns about the location. It's on a few issues that it's and a few times that it has been approached for it. And these are serious issues. You know, they're not just trying to fit a primary school into an area. I mean, you've got Pinjarra Road, which is, you know, going to be carrying upwards, you might correct me, but it'll be 20, 30, 40,000 people a day when this area is developed. Moores Road, as you said, it's an important connector for the industrial areas and beyond. I don't think from a safety point of view, which has been raised under livable neighbourhoods criteria, this is a good site for a primary school, and I think that unfortunately the Education Department and Council are going to have to look at a bit further. This gives rise to issues of uncertainty as far as the adoption of that site for a school by the WA Planning Commission, and certainly the issue of certainty goes further to the time that it's going to take to work this issue through, and that takes into account whether this proposed primary school is imminent. I think there's still a long way to go to get this structure plan adopted, and I commend your zeal for getting it through in a hurry, but knowing how the Commission and works and how they tend to take a long time to deal with scheme amendments, zonings, structure plans, I think you're very ambitious in the time frame, so I don't think it's imminent. Therefore, as far as the application goes, the proponents have looked at the technical details of the aspect, development standards, the build form, traffic, noise, landscaping, soils evaluation, the vegetation survey that they undertook, and the surveying of the site, and it's all very supportive of it, and I think that as a reason I'm of a mind to support the application.
Thank you, Member Coltas. I will speak to the motion. I looked at the reasons for refusal, and I must say I didn't agree with any of them. I think this development application is capable of approval, certainly under the current planning framework being in a use. There was no community objection to this. I think that the conditions, and particularly those that we've updated, require some technical details, but none of those technical details substantially changes the development proposal. I note through the RAR assessment, generally the development meets the development standards of the scheme and the local planning policies. I do note that the planning framework is in the process of change. However, the Shire themselves have stated in one of their responses to us that in infancy, there's certainly no certainty or imminence to any of the plans. There are many, many stages to go through, lifting urban deferment, preparing and adopting a new scheme, additional detailed structure plans, resolution of preliminary stages of work, main roads, etc. And at each stage, the relevance of this location for primary school may actually change, and its consideration over time as a suitable location may change. I think being associated or adjacent to the Pinjarra Road, which is a busy road, and also the potential for Moores Road as it connects through to industrial areas, does suggest that there are certainly relevant safety concerns which have been expressed by the Department of Planning and initially expressed by the Department of Education. I note that the referral authorities generally, other than the Department of Education, finally, had no objection to this application for veterinary centre. And I think sufficient land's been identified in the plans to set back from all roads and also Pinjarra Road. There may be some loss of potential community assets on private land, but that is what it is. So I'm very happy to provide my support for this application. There is one minor amendment that I would propose, and that is simply to introduce a new condition 1 and renumber the rest, which would read, pursuant to clause 22(1)(c) of the Peel Region Scheme, this is deemed to be an approval under the Peel Region Scheme. Do I have a second for that, please? Member Coltas is happy to second that. don't always need to mention the region schemes these days, but I think given the proximity to Pinjarra Road and the way that some of the conditions are worded and the status of the Peel Region scheme, I think it appropriate to make that reference. Member Coltas, did you wish to speak to the motion?
Confirm that I concur with it.
Thank you. Any other speakers on that particular amendment? If not, we'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's a unanimous decision. Thank you. I have nothing further to say, so I will refer back to the mover of this substantive motion, Member Page, to close the debate.
Nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thank you. There being no further debate, let's put this as amended to the vote. Those in favour? That's unanimous overall. Thank you very much. I'll just finish off the agenda, noting that as other business, there are no SAP applications in Supreme Court of Shire of Murray for this DAP. There is one ongoing for the City of Kwinana. I would therefore like to thank Councillor Rogers and Councillor McCarthy and other panel members in the room for their participation and contributions today, thank the Shire staff for their responses to our questions and R13 request, thank the applicant for their comments to our questions, the Secretariat for their support, and close the agenda and meeting at 10:51. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Absolutely freezing in here.